Welcome to Inked Up, where we dive into the fascinating world of permanent makeup. This podcast is brought to you by Highstoke, your trusted PMU growth partner, helping permanent makeup artists succeed through marketing, branding, and scaling strategies. Join us in each episode as we unravel the secrets of this ever-evolving industry and provide valuable insights to help you thrive as a PMU artist.
Hello.
Hello, Tahmina.
How are you doing, Danny?
I am doing fantastic. Awesome, Tahmina. Happy Tuesday. How are you?
Happy Tuesday. I am good.
Yeah.
How are you? How was your day?
It was, one of those, I feel like sometimes I lose track of my days and every day just feels like another day. Like the other day, it was like Happy Sunday. I'm like, oh my God, it's already the weekend. And so it's been one of those days. Tahmina, we're super excited to have you here. And a lot of times we don't really get to hear about your story and your journey and how you even got into the industry. And so I'm really excited to dive into a lot of that today. So Tahmina, let's get right into it. I always like to ask this because every time that I ask an artist as how they got into the industry, it's like no one ever expects to get into the PMU industry. So curious how you specifically got into this crazy world.
I know. It's always interesting to see people's progress and everything. We just never know their backstories, and I always love to hear that and know more about them. When it comes to social media, I'm pretty good at posting my work, but I was just never comment this is my story. So this is a great opportunity. I was actually doing social media and marketing for a lot of PMU artists a couple of years ago.
Really?
I have another IG handle. It's just Elijah360. So right now it has 1.6 million followers. I haven't been active on that. That's how I got to connect with a lot of PMU artists a while ago. And it was just always something very fascinating. The first time somebody requested to post it because I was doing reposts on there. It's like, what is this? This looks so interesting. It was a microblading clip. And then I was a college student, so I was just fascinated by that. I just took a course in microblading, but I was working and I was studying, so I just never had the time to really take it seriously. At the time I was in Canada, and eventually microblading personally wasn't for me. It's a beautiful technique, but my heart was just not in it. And then powder brows actually started getting super popular around 2016, I would say. That's when I started posting about it. 15, 16, and then when the machine worked, when I tried that, I just fell in love with it. And I started practicing on my own, just finding resources online. The girls that joined this industry now, they're so lucky. There's so many resources that trainers just put out for free. At the time, there was not much, so, whatever I could get my hands on. But I was lucky in the sense that I knew a lot of girls from this industry, and I had a lot of their help, so which I'm super, super grateful for. And they just kind of social media, I knew that part I had handled. I knew I could do that. That was my profession. But in terms of skills, I had a lot of help. And then courses, practicing and building. And here we are a couple of years later.
No, I love that. So you were already doing social media marketing for PMU artists, like you said. How did you even find out about that industry to figure out that was your focus at that point? I'm curious.
So I started that social media page out of curiosity, just because I was just stressed out, college student. I was just posting things. I never thought of it becoming anything, but when the page became super popular, I started getting requests from businesses. And the first artist that reached out to me to repost her work because of a bigger page for exposure. And that was a microblading clip. She was from Australia. I wish I remembered her name. That was the first time I just ever knew anything. I was probably in 2014 or something, around that time, 14, 15. Yeah.
Got it. No, I love that so much. And so walk us through the journey of how the business started. Because I'm assuming you use your social media skills and you're like, okay, you know what? I think this is, you already knew the game on again, the different platforms and how to attract clients. So walk us through that part of the business. How did you starting to get certified and learning the artistry develop into you starting the actual business side of things?
I started practicing on my own and just whatever help that was available online. And I took online courses. I was in Canada at the time, and then I moved to the US when I got married. And then it takes a while to get your paperwork. So I was just home practicing and still doing my social media work on the side.
Yeah.
New Jersey is a regulated state, so you can't just open a place and like get started. Even though I did have prior training, prior experience, I had to go take the beginner course, which is 100 hours of in-person training and then 15 procedures that needs to be done under supervision. So I completed that, and then I took my license and everything. But in terms of developing the business, it was two things: social media and referrals. So both of those together. Social media, because I had experience with this line of work, and I'd work and I knew what type of contents would do well, what type of videos, and I had been posting videos from like the beginning, even when the work was not as good. I just knew videos just have more power in promoting and putting yourself out there. So posting all of that online and just running some Instagram ads for exposure, asking around family, friends, whoever. Honestly, I was just hustling.
You're like a cheat.
Anybody.
You had a cheat code. You were in the game of social media, so you knew how to do all of it. That's amazing. I love it.
That's the part I had handled. So yes, in that sense, I am, because I knew what to do and what not to do. In terms of artistry, like that's something I had to really work on and develop, and it has evolved a lot over time. The beginning, so basically social media, I was very consistent with posting before and after. At the same time, I have a very strong referral program. Free touch ups. It started off with like free. I was just doing a lot of procedures for free just to get content and build my portfolio. And I watched live for some other artists as well, and they all have done that. You have to work for free in the beginning because it is important to build your portfolio. You should not get into this industry thinking you're just going to make a lot of money right off the bat. You build your prices up.
100%. You are you're on that trend, because every speaker that I've talked to so far, like you just said, have said the same thing. So you didn't break that streak yet. I love it so much. It's such a fresh perspective. And so in the beginning, like you were saying, you were like grinding it out, you were hustling, doing free work, getting the models coming in, and just really building those foundational pieces. I love it.
Exactly. And I knew that. And there is always demand for this kind of work, and there always will be. And what you do, your skill set will always set you apart. Like, this is not something you can pick and choose between. Somebody likes your work, they'll come to you. So you just build that. You specialize in a certain technique. I have clients flying from all over the country, places that have incredible artists, but they're like, I watch your work, I like this, I'm just here. Once you like somebody, they'll come to you, and I'm grateful for that. But you have to put in that time and effort, and lots of hours, a lot of
I love that so much. And I know this topic nobody likes to talk about too much, and I think that it should be, but challenges and the tough times along the way. But in the beginning, your first couple of years, like, were there any big challenges that you faced where you're like, okay, you know what, maybe this isn't for me, maybe I should be doing something else? Do you ever feel like that in the beginning stages?
I did, and I'll be honest. And that was not so much with the work, it's just me as a person. I want to say it because a lot of people may not admit it. So being an emotional person in the service industry, that's sort of high pressure. You're tattooing faces. It took me a while to not take things too personally, and it's not always about my work. So that's the part that would challenge me emotionally a lot. So I had to learn over time and develop that thick skin. It was never the business. I always, because I studied business, my major was marketing, was never social media. It was just knowing how to communicate properly, how not to take things personally. When your business grows, you have to grow with it. If you don't grow with it, you're just going to not survive in this industry. So that's the part that was challenging. And during that time, if I had certain tough situations with a certain client or something happened, those are the moments, crying in the bathroom, that's when I thought I would probably give up, and this was just too tough for me. But if you ever anybody face that, just know it's just not end of the
It's
world.
the end of the world.
It's not,
Got it. So it was more like the customer service side of things for you, the communication, being able to
in
work
a
with
way,
clients, the
I knew
relationship.
my
Yeah.
limitations, so I just knew that I had to work on myself as much as I work on the business as well. So that's something that I struggle with. But other than that, I'm grateful for all these thousands of clients that I have. They're more like family to me. And ever since I started training my incredible students, I cried all day because
I
of
love
all the
it.
reviews from the
Good
Chicago
tears, right?
class.
They're both good tears
Good
and bad
ones, good
tears.
ones, good ones from
Awesome.
my Chicago students. They were incredible. All my students are amazing, but this one, it was just, they took the time to let me know that they loved it, and letting me know how the training helped them already. It's only been 2-3 days.
I love
I'm
that.
grateful.
And then one of the things that you mentioned, I love that so much. I like to think that your business is a reflection of you as a person. And so as your business is growing, like you definitely need to grow yourself too, like constantly. And there's always like levels of it. Yeah, that's amazing. Okay, so that's that. And then, you mentioned earlier how a lot of the people getting into the industry, they're so lucky now. They have all of these resources
There's a lot of research.
to you, back then. So I guess like now heading into 2023, like what are some of the things that you tell your students? Like any advice you have for people looking to get into the industry as of this new year?
People looking into this industry, I just always said it's the best thing will change your life. It absolutely changed mine in ways that I could not have imagined. I feel like education, quality education, so doing the research properly, choosing a trainer that has an ongoing support, and they have all the resources. And once you do take a good training, then it's up to you, the hard work. So you have to put a lot of work into it. The resources available, but ultimately it doesn't mean anything if you're not using it and applying it. So I just feel like you have to put yourself out there, put your work out there to work just the old school way. There's no little tricks to get to things faster, no shortcuts for anything. You have to put in time and effort. You have to be willing to work for free, to build your portfolio, gain experience. Like one of the reasons I was just doing so many for free, or just like starting at $75, $200, $250, like at that price, so spending 2 to 2.5 hours with a client, making sure everything went smoothly. I kept my prices low for another reason as well, because of the frequency of clients that I was getting. It's not just for the content, but the experience you get, like 3-4 clients a day, every single day. That really improved my skill in a short amount of time.
Yeah.
Because of that. So you have to be able to dedicate time and effort into it. It's amazing, incredible, but there is work involved.
There is.
Not
You're telling me we can't make 6 figures in 14 days after?
No, maybe 30 days, not 14.
Love it. Okay, no, that's phenomenal. Thank you for sharing that. And so I'd love to understand more of how you eventually became a trainer, because that transition from an artist to a trainer, that was, I'm sure, a journey in itself. So at what point you were like, you know what, I'm great at what I do, I have my techniques, I want to start educating? When was that moment for you?
So when I moved to Jersey, I started posting about my work after I got licensed and everything. Even though I had prior experience, I started posting it more. The quality of content that I was posting was good, and I was honestly getting requests for trainings right away. And I would laugh about it with my friends. I was like, I'm not training, but I'm honored. Thank you so much for even thinking that, I'm worthy of that. I appreciate it. That's how people were always interested. They wanted to join the class. The first class that I did was almost a year and a half ago, but I didn't do it by myself. I did it with one of my colleagues, Twee Brownwood from Canada. She is my mentor as well. I did it with her because she had the resources in terms of her experience. I don't want to just do it by myself. When I posted about the class in November 2021, 3 classes, it literally sold out within a week or so. But I'm glad I didn't do it by myself, because Twee's expertise, her knowledge and everything, even though the technique I demonstrated and I was teaching it, but the style has evolved a lot over the years in terms of how I explain things, how I break down a technique, and I've constantly updated because all my students get an online portion for their training as well. And at the time when I started training, I recorded some content at a studio, all professional 4K, a couple case studies, different mapping, just so they have something to refer to. And I updated all of that this year. I'm continuously editing that. So it's like by itself 20 hours of training, the online portion. So definitely when I started training, that was another learning curve. I had to really know how to explain things, how to know every student's learning style and my teaching style, and they're not always the same. So being nimble and being patient, that was always my goal, but the intention was always to give them the most that I can and teach with my heart and everything I know and be there with them when they need me. In terms of the quality of training, it has evolved and changed a lot and will continue to change and evolve in coming months, days, and years.
I love that so much. Because I was going to ask you, as a trainer, there are its own set of challenges. Because I've had this interview with so many other artists and going to a trainer, now all of a sudden you're an educator, and now it's a completely different ball game. And so any piece of advice for those who are looking to get into training? Because obviously here in our audience, we have those who are at that intermediate level. They're like, you know what, maybe one day I want to be another Tahmina. I want to start training too. What advice do you have for that segment of people?
If anyone's looking to train, I would just say, like, you need to know in your heart that you have mastered it. Now, there's not a level where you reach and you're like, okay, I learned everything. You continue to grow, but a point where you're 100% confident. Like, if it's a certain niche, like, you have to know how your heel result is over time. Like, you need to figure out, you need to be knowledgeable on all the topics and continue to learn about that. And when you do start small. Like, make sure you provide all the resources and be there, like maybe 1-on-1 or 2-on-1, just so you're able to understand your style of teaching, and then slowly into group trainings, because it takes you need to be mindful of everybody in a group training, like the one we did in Chicago recently. Like, you don't want anybody feeling left out. So that would not have been possible if I started off with a big group like that with no help.
Yeah.
So definitely, you need to know in your heart that you have mastered the technique, you know it, all the different topics, and start off by teaching smaller groups or 1-on-ones and just see your style, get feedback, and not take that personally. I still ask for feedback from students about things that I could improve and things I could add.
Yeah.
Like, I was always a very, very tough teacher, but that's just not everyone's style.
You're a tough
Some
teacher?
people don't like
You're saying
that.
you're a tough teacher?
My style was, and sometimes it could get a little discouraging for some students. I just know better ways to communicate. I'll still be tough. I'll still point out things. I'll still correct them. I communicate it better now, just so it's not personal. They just know that I'm doing it because I want them to succeed. I want them to improve.
Yeah, got it. Well, and honestly, in my personal opinion, I feel like in this industry, you have to tell people what they need to hear, not what they want to hear, especially if you're trying to be successful with all that's going on. So I'm glad that you're more of the...
Yeah, I put it out there in the beginning of the training. I just put it out there in the beginning of the training that I'll give them feedback and I'll be tough, but it's for their own benefit.
It's for your own
ahead of time, they'll usually okay.
Do I have your permission to yell at you whenever you're...
I wouldn't yell, but I'm like...
Love it.
Like that.
Awesome. Okay, so no, thank you for sharing that. And so let's go into more of the technique now. Obviously, you're known for your soft pixelated brows. And so how did that come to be? How did you transition into that? And how did you, everything about the technique itself? We'd love to hear.
Yeah, it's funny because when I said the ombre brow was getting super popular around like 2015 and 16, there was always the bolder look. Now, nothing is wrong with that. I just don't want to come off like that. It's an incredible technique, and there's definitely market for that. And that's the kind of content I was getting a lot of engagement on my page, and I was super popular. So almost everybody started with a bolder style. Yeah. But when I started personally, that's the technique I had learned. Just saturate the brows, fill them in completely. And when I was getting clients, they were every day, my nurses, my beautiful teachers, like they did not want something too bold.
Yeah.
Like they're always a little scared about that. And at the time, my technique was not developed enough to show them that. So I had to kind of learn not to do it very boldly and just be soft and gentle and just little by little and build it. So that's the technique evolved because there was a market for it where I was working and what people were requesting. If people were requesting the intense, bold look, I probably would have never come up with this technique. It's not my technique. A lot of incredible artists do it, but that's what I'm known for because that's what I consistently post on my page. Mm-hmm. So the technique is more of a softer or pixelated, different terms for that. The goal is for it to look natural, kind of see-through, like look like a little filled-in effect rather than a tattoo on the face. So that's the difference in terms of the overall outcome of it. So that's why I specialize in that. And when I teach students, a lot of them that do come, first thing we do in the class, I have them set a brow for me because I want to observe their technique, and it's usually bold and saturated and filled in there. Like I want to learn the soft technique. So we go from there. So the way I break it down for them, like everything matters, and I just go back to basics in terms of how do you hold your machine, how do you move your machine, what speed do you work with, when do you need to adjust your speed, the needle, and your pressure, and how you overlap different sections, how you transition. So all of that's broken down for them. Just all of that together will produce this kind of effect that heals soft and natural, and also showing them ways, the not wrong ways, but the other ways, just so they can distinguish between the two and not do. Just to give you an example, if I'm doing a very soft pixelated look, the strokes are going to be a little spaced out. If it's a bolder look, it keeps closer together. So you just kind of have to explain the difference so they're mindful of that. Anytime I teach my students, it's all about you need to be mindful. You just need to pay attention and be focused and apply these, and you will be able to achieve the softer effect. And these are the mistakes you need to avoid. So I do show them during the class, but when they have their online portion, it's also broken down with examples of how to do it, how not to do it. What if you made a mistake, how do you fix it? So all those little clips and technique breakdowns are there for them. So they're able to troubleshoot those problems on their own.
Oh, I love that so much. You're super knowledgeable in all of that. I love how you just geeked out for the last couple of minutes. And so I'm curious.
Lots of trainings. So I am shifting the focus a little bit more from clients to trainings. And as I train more and more students, I need to be available for them for their after support and all of that in developing. So working on a lot of online courses as well. But the focus on this year is going to be trainings, destination trainings, mostly, but also I started doing beginner classes here in New Jersey because those are intensive training. So,
well, Tahmina, thank you so much for taking the time. You've been amazing.
Thank you for joining us on this PMU journey. We hope you found inspiration and actionable insights to elevate your career in permanent makeup. To stay updated on the latest trends, tips, and exclusive content, be sure to follow us on social media at Highstoke Media. Don't miss out on our upcoming episodes and exciting PMU news. Until next time, keep creating beauty one stroke at a time.